When it comes to organized crime, the 20th century produced some of the most infamous gang leaders in history. These were men who built empires fueled by violence, fear, and cunning intelligence. Their influence was not limited to their cities or countries. They shaped entire criminal networks, economies, and even politics. From the United States to Europe, Japan, and Latin America, these leaders left legacies that are still studied, feared, and sometimes romanticized today. Starting in the United States, Al Capone, born in Brooklyn in 1899, rose to control Chicago during the Prohibition era of the 1920s. Capone started his criminal career with small gangs, but quickly ascended through the ranks by combining brutality with a keen business sense. Prohibition created an enormous demand for illegal alcohol, and Capone exploited this, turning bootlegging into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. But it wasn't just his money that made him famous, it was his violence. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929, where 7 members of a rival gang were executed in cold blood, marked Capone as a man who would stop at nothing to protect his empire. Yet Capone was also a master of public relations. He cultivated a reputation as a Robin Hood figure, giving to the poor and appearing generous in public, all while avoiding serious jail time for years. Eventually, Capone was convicted of tax evasion, proving that even the most powerful gang leaders are vulnerable to legal scrutiny. His story is a chilling reminder of how organized crime can infiltrate society and government. Crossing the Atlantic to Italy, Salvatore Riina, also known as Riina, became the head of the Sicilian Mafia, or Cosa Nostra, in the 1970s and 1980s. Riina's reign was defined by pure terror. Unlike Capone, Riina did not attempt to soften his image. He embraced violence as a tool for control. Under his leadership, the mafia carried out assassinations of rival gang members, law enforcement officers, and even high-ranking judges. Riina orchestrated a campaign of murders designed to intimidate the Italian state and maintain Cosa Nostra's grip on the Sicilian economy. His empire extended into construction, extortion, and drug trafficking, and his ability to command fear kept his subordinates loyal. Riina spent decades eluding authorities, moving between secret hideouts and relying on an intricate network of informants. His eventual capture in 1993 was a turning point for the Italian mafia, demonstrating that even the most ruthless criminal networks could be dismantled with persistence and intelligence. In Japan, organized crime takes on a different cultural form through the Yakuza, with Kenichi Shinoda, also known as Shinobu Tsukasa, as one of its most influential leaders. Shinoda rose to the top of the Yamaguchi-gumi, Japan's largest Yakuza syndicate. The Yakuza operates with a strict hierarchical structure, blending criminal activities with legitimate businesses. Under Shinoda, the Yamaguchi-gumi expanded internationally, controlling illegal gambling, drug trafficking, real estate fraud, and protection rackets. Unlike Western gangs, the Yakuza emphasizes loyalty, honor, and ritual, often making them seem more like corporate entities than traditional gangs. Shinoda maintained absolute control, combining intimidation with strategic alliances, showing how organized crime can adapt to modern economies while maintaining a strong cultural identity. The Yakuza's presence in Japan is a reminder that organized crime is not just violent, it can also be deeply integrated into society, influencing politics, business, and everyday life. In Mexico, José de Jesús Méndez Vargas, a key figure in La Familia Michoacana and later the Knights Templar cartel, exemplifies the violent and charismatic nature of Latin American organized crime. Méndez Vargas controlled territories critical to drug trafficking and enforced his rule with kidnappings, assassinations, and terror campaigns. What set him apart was his use of a pseudo-religious ideology to justify his actions and inspire loyalty among followers. Members were expected to follow a strict moral code that combined criminal activities with distorted religious teachings, creating a cult-like structure that strengthened his grip on the organization. His influence shaped the Mexican cartel landscape for decades, demonstrating how ideology can be combined with violence to consolidate power in organized crime. Despite being pursued by Mexican authorities, Méndez Vargas became a symbol of both fear and power, showing how cartel leaders can dominate communities and regions for years. Finally, no discussion of 20th century gang leaders would be complete without Pablo Escobar, the Colombian drug lord who led the Medellin cartel. Escobar's empire controlled nearly 80% of the cocaine trade into the United States during the 1980s. His wealth was unimaginable. Billions of dollars flowed through his hands annually, making him one of the richest criminals in history. Escobar combined extreme violence with generosity, often building schools, housing, and infrastructure in poor communities, earning him the love of some locals while simultaneously instilling terror through assassinations and bombings. Escobar was relentless in eliminating rivals, manipulating politicians, and evading law enforcement. His life ended in a violent shootout with Colombian authorities in 1993, but his legend remains, demonstrating the global reach of organized crime and the devastating consequences of allowing such power to grow unchecked. These five men, Al Capone, Salvatore Riina, Kenichi Shinoda, José de Jesús Méndez Vargas, and Pablo Escobar, represent the global spectrum of 20th century organized crime. From bootlegging in Chicago to international drug trafficking in Colombia, from the disciplined Yakuza in Japan to the terror campaigns of Mexico and Sicily, these leaders used fear, intelligence, and strategy to dominate. They show how organized crime is not limited to one region, culture, or style of leadership. Instead, it adapts, evolves, and integrates itself into societies, leaving lasting impacts that law enforcement and governments continue to struggle with today. Studying these figures is both fascinating and chilling. Each rose to power through unique methods, but all relied on control, influence, and ruthlessness. They understood human behavior, exploited weaknesses in legal systems, and created empires that challenged governments and destabilized societies. Their stories are cautionary tales about the dangers of unchecked ambition and power in the criminal underworld. The legacies of these gang leaders are still visible today. Modern organized crime, whether in the Americas, Europe, or Asia, has been shaped by the structures and strategies these men pioneered. Understanding their lives offers insight into not only the history of crime, but also the ongoing challenges governments face in combating sophisticated criminal networks. From street-level extortion to international drug trafficking, the shadow of these leaders lingers, reminding us that while eras may end, the influence of powerful gang leaders can span decades and continents. In the end, the top gang leaders of the 20th century were more than just criminals. They were masterminds, tacticians, and symbols of the dark side of ambition. Their stories continue to captivate, horrify, and intrigue, offering lessons on power, loyalty, and the human capacity for both strategy and violence.